Rakai sector in Uganda, one of the poorest areas in Uganda, and certainly one of the poorest areas in the world, where there's very little in terms of resources and access to health care. And we've brought over a team of tremendous people that are very competent and talented. We have 4 surgeons and OR nurses, recovery room nurses.
I don't think anybody would come here. It's really remote. I'm shocked how he found, the need here and the infrastructure to get things rolling and to get all the way in this remote area with a shipping container. Without Operation International and donations, you never get all this equipment, supplies. We supplied beds for the orphanages, lighting for the orphanages, a well they're digging today, I think. So a lot of good things are going to come out of this operation.
From the children who come in with congenital deformities to children who come in with burns. You increase their functional participation in everyday activities. You help them overcome their social problems in many instances. I can think of one case in particular where an older gentleman came in who had a large mass in his neck, which was a goiter, which is a kind of thyroid tumor. And he had been, because of the size of this and the deformity associated with it, he had been totally isolated from his friends.
I first started noticing this tumor when I was 25 years old, and over time it just kept growing and growing. I went to many people who said they could help. One old woman in my village said she could cure me. She cut into my neck with a razor blade and then added local herbs. She did this a few times, but it didn't help. When I saw her taking out an old, rusty razor blade to use on me, I left and never went back.
Every time you see something crazy or big, someone walks in the door with something even bigger. There are goiters here that are 2, 3, 4 times the biggest thing I've ever seen in the States, and you really feel that you've helped these people because, if they don't get surgery, they can actually die. Those things are so big. I mean, they're the size of a small football, and it's going to push on their airway and suffocate them at some point.
I am extremely affected by this situation because as a man, I cannot mingle very well with my fellow men. When there is a social gathering like a party, sometimes people stare at me, so I am not free at all. If the operation is successful, I will be filled with peace and happiness. Like I have been untied from a rock.
You're going to make sure you remove everything and it doesn't recur again. Last time.
Shortly after her father died in a car accident when she was a baby, Daphne started developing a swelling on the side of her neck. The swelling continued to grow, and I took her to a doctor who removed it. But after a while, it just grew back. My daughter's sickness has brought us a lot of hardship. She has been operated on 3 times, and we have spent a lot of money with no success. Right now I am not working, and when my husband died, he left me pregnant. So I had just about given up on my daughter. But when I heard about this group of Americans, I wanted to give it one last try.
On the 3rd day of our mission, and things were really crazy and busy, and I had been seeing a lot of very sick newborns, neonates, toddlers. This one particular incident I'll never forget. I had just been in on a C-section, received a thickly covered meconium baby, and while I was dropping the baby off, a nurse came over to me. She wanted to show me this baby who had been born with asphyxia. So I went with her into this small, really dilapidated delivery room, and on the shelf or cabinet, bundled up in these thick blankets, was this baby, and she pulled back the part that was covering the head, and all I saw was gray. And she didn't seem nervous or upset, so I thought she was showing me a baby that had passed away. And she walked back to the mom who had just delivered, and I looked at the baby, and all of a sudden the baby just gasped, like, and then nothing. And they did it again, so I immediately assessed him. His heart rate was in the low 60s, 50s. Severe respiratory distress, and the baby had essentially just been set aside to die, because I think it's so common here that they don't expect anything different. So I picked up the baby, and I literally ran to the building where the surgeries were being done in the theater, and went to Jaron, our anesthesiologist, and trying to figure out, do we proceed? How do we proceed? This baby was very critical. I felt that we should at least give this baby a shot and intubate the baby. So we intubated him, kept bagging him, and then they felt that the best thing was just to let the baby go, make the baby comfortable.
As much as it, we just need to make it comfortable. Let it make him comfortable so he's not gasping up here. And let mom no, and let her make a decision. Does she want to hold? Does she want to see him? Whatever mom wants is okay. Okay?
So the local doctor and I walked over to the mother and told her that her baby was going to die that day. And we asked her if she wanted to hold him or not, whatever she was most comfortable with. And she said that she preferred to wait until it was close to time. So by the time I got back, it was just 10-15 minutes from talking with the mother, the baby had been moved from the OR into the PACU and was still intubated. And Medhat was bagging the baby. And I said, we get to, he said, keep bagging the baby. Go for it. And he said, doing well on room air right now. Do what you need to do. So I bagged the baby for 10-15 minutes. And the more I bagged, the feistier he got. He started getting fussy, fighting that tube in his throat. We pulled the tube, put a nasal cannula on him, kept the oxygen up. He needed IV, he needed glucose. We couldn't get IVs in him. He was too clamped down, and he wouldn't let us put an OG or an NG down. We couldn't get one down. Multiple tries, multiple people, and nasal cannula. So I'm like, well, we got to give this baby some sugar. So I took a pacifier and I poked some small holes in it and got some intravenous D10, because that's all we had in terms of sugar water. And that baby sucked that stuff down like it was no problem.
I know it's hard work, but you can do it.
And the more sugar he got, the perkier he got. And he was feisty and strong, and his tone was good, and he was pink, and he was proving us wrong. He's like, I have another plan.
Oh, that's what.
I've got things to do in this world. And at the same time, a child, a 2-year-old, a very, very sick 2-year-old comes in, and the child had measles, and she was in severe respiratory distress. And we put her on one of the beds that was right next to this new baby's bed. And we knew this child wasn't going to survive. But we were doing what we could. And she died after being there for under an hour. And you know what happens. But to see death and then the miracle of life right next to each other, side by side, there aren't words.
The only thing we can say when our time has come and it's the end of life is how much good have we done for other people? Not what we have, not what we own, but how much good you do for other people.
I think it gives people the opportunity for first-rate care when, even if they had money here, they probably couldn't get some of the stuff that we're able to do. It gives people that don't have the money to travel to Kampala or even money to pay for surgery or medications, and it gives them an opportunity for life-changing surgery.
It's certainly a good base to start to make a dent in this huge need for healthcare here.
As we were here more days, more and more people showed up from all over Uganda, like 5 hours away, 7 hours away. You realize they need help. There's not enough people here. And, we just did a little bite of the apple, but, as much as we could do. And I think we have to keep coming back.
My belief is that even if it's one child that you save, one adult that you save, the kids, especially of all ages, they're our future. And they're seeing these examples. They're seeing what can happen. And if we influence just one kid who wants to grow up and make a difference, that's how it starts. It all starts with baby steps.